Grew up round folk on the hustler stones. Vice lords, grew up round Latin King maniacs.
Hey, yo, it's the General Prolific. We are live and direct from ICS Records. Nexus Minati, love you, brother. We got CTL Smooth in the house today, too. Love you, my guy. You now in tune to another episode of EO Radio. Have a guest that I've been looking forward to having a conversation with. Actually, it's the first time I met her, which is usually my favorite conversations I have because it's very organic, it's very fresh. But we have choreographer. I'll let her add on the other things to her name if she wants to. But a very beautiful soul, very stylish individual. We have Kelly Kell in the house. Kelly K or Kelly Kell?
Kelly K. You call me Kelly Kell. Sounds kind of cool.
Is the other K for Kell?
The K is my middle initial, which is Christine.
Christine. See, I was off
Yeah,
already.
but I
We
never
really did
use
just meet
it.
right now.
I never use it.
I feel bad for middle names sometimes because I usually call someone by the middle name because I feel like it goes to waste. Do you have children?
No.
Do you want children?
I have 2 dog children.
2 dog children. Which one's your favorite?
That's a trick question.
Is it one that's going to be answered?
Whichever one's willing to snuggle me.
Are they both big dogs, small dogs? One's big, one's small. What breed are they?
They're both rescues.
Okay.
And I've done some work with fostering rescue dogs. I love
Beautiful.
animals. And so they're both mutts, but the one is a Shepherd Weimaraner mix and the other's a Beagle Terrier mix. So like in the 60s and in the 30s.
Mix. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which one did you get first?
She runs the house.
The Beagle Terrier?
I'm second. Yeah.
And she's a she. Is the other one a she as well?
Both girls. Yeah, we
So
got a
both
lot of girls.
Okay. And which one did you rescue first?
The Beagle.
The Beagle. Okay. So
And I
she
was
kind of
like,
made her dominance known.
yes. I
And
was
the
like,
other one
I'll
just
never
falls
have
into
another
line?
dog.
And the other one just falls into line?
Mostly.
Because that kingdom, there's always like an alpha.
Yeah.
That's just how they operate.
Yeah. That's Cammy.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to get straight into it. So who's someone you should have forgiven, but you haven't had a chance to yet?
Myself.
No, you don't have to tell me like their name.
Myself.
Yourself. See, I wasn't expecting that answer. Please dive in a little bit.
I think, there are a lot of things I give myself grace for. I think I give myself grace to be human because what's the alternative? I'm as human gets, but I feel like any area where I need to grow or anything I haven't let go of has been a need for me to forgive myself.
Wow. What are some of those areas if you want to be a little bit more vulnerable or transparent with?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. You want to get real vulnerable?
Sure.
Recently, I showed up to something in a way that it wasn't terrible, but I wasn't proud of. I feel like I acted from a place of fear, which I try not to do. I try to act from a place of presence in my body and a place of knowing and a place of intuition.
Okay.
And I felt like I acted from a place of hasty fear.
Okay, so I'm a detail person. So you say you showed up to a place. Was it an event? Was it a work thing? Was it a casual just interaction with
Conceptually
conceptually.
with a
Maybe creative?
person I was getting to know.
like you know in a creative aspect?
No.
Okay. So it's just you and them.
Yeah.
So that automatically is very intimate.
Yeah.
So did you do it out of, you said you were hasty.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the word you use? So did you do it out of a little bit of fear, out of pressure, out of wanting to give a good impression, out of so forth and so on?
Out of a desire to do this.
Oh.
Whoa. I'm not sure about you. So instead of saying, hey, I'm not sure,
You acted out.
I went, not in a disrespectful way, but
Right.
I knew what I was doing.
So how would you
Even
handle
if it
it
was
now?
kindly stated.
Like if you had a redo. Like what would you do different?
I can't change the past, so I wouldn't.
Fair enough. How about if that same
But I can
scenario?
forgive myself.
Sure. How about that same scenario where you
Happened
had to
again.
do the same? You had,
I haven't quite figured that out yet.
that's very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because we think we know how we'll handle a situation,
I don't know yet.
and then we go through that situation, and then you ponder on it for a little bit, and then we're still left with unknowns.
You know what's interesting is I don't know that I necessarily would change what I did,
Just how you did it?
but where it comes from.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
That's the difference for me, is where is it coming from? If I tell you, get away from me, and that's coming from a place of me knowing that you're not for me,
Yeah.
and trusting my intuition, I'm okay with that. If I say get away from me, but it comes from a place of I'm afraid to let go,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
different.
Very.
It's very different.
Very much
If
so.
I express a vulnerability and I'm doing it from a place of I want something from you when I tell you this, that's a very different place than coming from a place of I'm sharing this because this is what my soul feels moved to say.
Yeah. One, it seems like it's based on trust because you're telling someone
Of
you want,
self.
and then one's based out of I just need to express this because it's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Very interesting. How does Kelly handle negative emotions?
I try not to call any of them negative.
Okay.
I think they are all just emotions, some harder than others. How do I handle them? It depends on which one. Give
Yeah.
me one.
I have a particular saying that I allow myself to have 2 bad days in a month because I feel like and my bad day, I'm pretty sure if someone like were to walk with me for 24 hours, they wouldn't consider it a bad day. But I feel like we were taught at a very young age, especially my background, to kind of like run or hide from negative emotions.
Yeah.
And I feel like that if God didn't want us to feel negative things, then He wouldn't allow us to experience negative things. Now, we could turn something negative into a positive. Now, like for example, in the Christian world, they say that everything happens for a reason. I never agreed with that. I feel like that God could make a reason out of every happening. But if I were to say, every 30 seconds a woman gets raped, I don't think that that's something that's in God's greatest scheme of things, or someone's being kidnapped every minute, or whatever the statistics are. We could really break them down, suicide, so forth and so on. I don't think that was what God's intention for life and His creation, but they happen. So the reason why I allow myself to have 2 bad days is that I allow myself to confront why am I feeling these things. So, for example, why am I feeling anxious? Or why am I feeling despair? Or why am I feeling depressed about something? So instead of running and hiding from it, that causes us to kind of hide the symptoms. I want to know the symptoms so then I know how to address it. So
Keep spitting.
so when I say how do you handle negative emotions, I guess a better way to rephrase the question is how do you handle what's not your norm when it invades your norm?
Intense emotions that feel like are hard for me to just flow through. That's a great question. Sometimes with grace and sometimes without it, right? So let's be real.
For sure.
So and it depends on the emotion. So for example, anger, I struggle with. I struggle with anger because I'm a fiery girl. So little bouts of anger, if that's what you want to call them, are a little easy for me to be like, right? Like I can say something and just kind of spit venom sometimes, right? But sassiness, that comes natural to me, which I actually think is just me having typical boundaries and stating them directly, but whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Anger, that's harder for me. So sometimes for me, the way I deal with that is it gets a little swirly. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have you ever had an emotion where you kind of feel a little swirly and you're like, I don't really know what to do with this, so I'm just going to move it over here because I don't know how to process this effectively. But like sadness, I can do that.
You can do it.
Oh yeah, I can do sadness. I can do sadness. I can write. I can cry. I can dance. It feels delicious, and I can have that at the same time as being happy. Like I can hold space for both emotions at the same time. I can feel a deep sadness and a mourning and a grieving for something, while also feeling very, very optimistic. I think a lot of times we see sadness as something that means that we're not optimistic. It doesn't. Optimism has to do with the future. Sadness has to do with accepting the state that I feel right now.
Do you feel like sadness is easier for you to control because it's something you learn to take as fuel, use that to inspire your creativity?
Maybe. And when I was younger, I grew up in a really rough environment.
Okay.
And I feel like anger, I feel like I felt sad. I was always very bubbly and out there, but there was a part of me that needed to process sadness, the mourning, even in the moment, the things that I didn't have. the parents I didn't have that I wished I would have had. And for me, my self-protection, because I feel so deeply and because I am a very sensitive person, anger was my only in that setting, just funny, not outside of that setting, but anger was my protection. But anger was also, if you're protecting yourself with anger, the person who's trying to hurt you is going to shame you for your anger, because that's the only thing fighting back at them.
Fact, yeah.
And so for me, I
Yeah,
think
see that?
over time, I developed an aversion to anger, because I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel this, because I was shamed for feeling angry. And it took time. I mean, I had to go to therapy for them to say, oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that as a little girl, you said, F you, get away from me, you know? But that's not what the adults were telling me.
Right.
They were like, you're talking back.
Was there kind of a shock hearing that it was okay that was your response to those
Such
situations?
a relief. It was a relief.
So there was a guilt that you were carrying for a while until you had that moment, that realization.
A shame. A shame.
Shame's a strong word too.
Yeah, I think a shame, a subtle shame, but a shame nevertheless. And I think for sadness, I just always felt at peace expressing it.
For sure.
Because I could express that alone.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about sadness, but specifically for creatives, sadness is like a gift from God. As much as we don't like going through it, but it's such a gift because it's so inspirational.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we live in a world where that's the more attractive out of the two. It's opposite, joy. Now, that's not everybody in everyone's circle, but for the majority, something negative is always going to get more viral first, or something negative is always going to be the thing that they surround like reality TV around, or so forth and so on. Especially in this era, the word toxic is so used, especially when I talk to the younger generation, is so used as almost a necessary element to have in a relationship. But it's like, I mean, there's twofold. Something inside of you is wanting that toxic element, because number one, you want to put up with it. Number two, you wouldn't feel like everything isn't good or normal unless that toxic trait is there.
I hate that.
And three, some people believe that it is necessary for any relationship you're in to have a toxic something. So that's unfortunate, right? But for us as creatives, it is a great man. It's weird, but it is a great fuel. Let me reverse that. How do you deal with positive emotions?
I would say that's more my norm.
Your cup of tea?
Yeah, I love them. But I went back to school a while ago for feminine embodiment coaching. And something really, really resonated with me while I was in this school. And it was a year and a half. I mean, it was pretty in-depth and intense. I mean, they would coach you and you had to face the very things that you might ask someone else to face. And for me, it's really helped me with, if I'm coaching a music artist or dancers, or I'm expressing and getting more in touch with the feminine parts of myself, which everyone has.
For sure.
Everyone has masculine and feminine. It was very powerful. But there's a continuum, right, of emotion. And let's say, I'll borrow your phrase, negative emotion. You have what's considered more positive emotion, happiness, joy, excitement, and then what's considered maybe a negative emotion, sadness, anger, despair. And you have to be in touch with all of them. And what they were teaching us, what they were espousing here, was that if you are unwilling to go to the depth of the negative emotions, you will never actually be able to feel the positive emotions.
Absolutely.
That the continuum goes from the middle, just like this, and you can't go way over here without going over here. So you can't be very, very joyful unless you are willing to feel pain as well.
Yeah.
So you can't feel true happiness unless you open yourself to all emotions. So to open yourself to one is to open yourself to all of them. So if you open yourself to true joy, you open yourself in turn to pain.
Absolutely.
And you have to be okay with that. And the more I think when we get stuck, mind you, I'm not speaking on any topic that's more medical. Like, I don't know psychology in that way. So I want to put that out there, disclaimer, like I am not I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist, any of those things. But I think maybe in just a more general sense, that it's when we block the emotion, we block it, we repress it, we don't feel like dealing with it, we run from it, we find excuses to make ourselves busy instead of really sitting and feeling that emotion.
Absolutely.
I think that's when we get stuck in it, because instead of processing it and letting it flow out of us, we're just jamming it down, and it's there, and it's not going away until we feel it. And so I think that's a lot of the reason that sometimes I think we fear the emotion, because our very fear of it keeps it in the shadow, which keeps it inside of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I get nervous when I'm around people that are always positive. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's like, bro, you're happy 24/7. Then obviously you're running from something. That's become your mechanism to whatever, cope or distract or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But when I'm around people that are always positive, I used to be one of those people that was always positive.
Yeah.
I wasn't probably expressing it in a positive way, but I always try to be positive. That's why I came up with the thing that I have 2 bad days a month, so I can confront those things. But also, I think it's necessary for the listeners that you put an expiration date on anything that is hindering you, or we're using the word negative again, that is negative. Because there has to be a point where you say, okay, I'm going to deal with this, but so it doesn't become a habitual thing, I'm only going to deal with this for 2 weeks. And after that 2 weeks, I'm going to force myself to move forward from it. Or I'm going to find an answer. If I can't find it for myself, then I'm going to go seek help, or whatever that looks like to find that resolution. I think it's important to have an expiration date on things. Now, it's obviously easier said than done. So for you to take this class, was it a personal thing? Was it to make you a better teacher? Was it for your students? Was it that it was for you to become a better teacher and your students, and then you found yourself unlocking some things in yourself? What was that process like this year and a half of going through this this feminine body empowerment situation?
I, alongside of the dance and the choreography, I wanted to create safe spaces for women. And I found that already in some of the classes. Like, I don't consider myself a dance teacher. Like, I'm a human first, but I'm a dancer and a choreographer. I like to use verbs though. So I like to say I dance and I choreograph. I am a human and I am a girl. Like, those are typically the only nouns that I use. Yeah. But I found that a lot of it, even if I'm working a set for someone's video or something like that, like, I'm pulling things out of you. Right? Like, I need more from you. And I found that I was naturally doing that with women, and a lot of them would come to me if I'd had a class, or even if I had a dancer I was working with, they would come to me after and open up a little and talk about how they might be struggling with something, or they're not getting in their body. And I thought, how can I create an even safer space for women? And I think it's hard out here for men. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm not a man, so I can't know, but I think there are so many expectations on men. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be stalwart. You're supposed to be focused and motivated, point A to point B, but not to point A to point B. Calm down and make room for women's emotions, but don't have your own.
Yeah, especially in this climate, for sure.
Don't have your own, but now have them, because now I want you to express them, but not too much, because now you're not strong enough, right? Like, so I understand things are hard for men too, but in a different way, I think, for women. And it was important to me to create a safe space for women. And I thought, how could I be better at this for myself and for them? And so that's why I sought out this course. I was kind of watching videos and trying to learn more about it, and I thought, I'm just going to go back to school for this. And it was one of the best decisions that I ever made, because it helped me learn too how to get in my body, because what it's all about is getting into your body and listening to your body and reading your body. And it helps in subtle ways. So the other day I was walking with my sister, and I think we get micro traumas stuck in our body a lot. We see something really bad. Even people watch the news all day. I don't watch the news, but that's like micro trauma every day.
For sure.
And we don't process those emotions, because we're just like, oh, it's fine. And we just kind of move on. We never give our body a chance to really process it. And then sometimes later on, we're having to go back and feel through this emotion. And what embodiment does is it enables you to kind of move through those feelings in the moment. So it might suggest an alternative to 2 bad days a month, and say, when the feeling strikes, when the whisper's there, honor your body in that moment and say, like, body, what are you trying to tell me? for a woman, at least, this is how I like
Yeah.
to do it. Like, what are you trying to tell me right now?
Hmm.
I might be at dinner and feel like and then be like, what are you telling me right now?
Yeah.
Is this a safe space for you? Did something trigger you? What's going on? And like kind of let that emotion be inside of you and then release from you right then and there. And then it's done. Obviously some things are more complicated.
For sure. Right.
But
right.
the
Yeah.
little micro things, and then letting our body lead.
Yeah, one of the questions that I sent you ahead of time was the topic of confidence. You're a very confident woman, which I could notice that from afar. Meeting you,
What makes you say that?
meeting you confirm my suspicions. The way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk to someone, the way you embrace people, the way you allow yourself to read the room and take it in. You're aware of everyone that's in it, and you look them in the eye, you speak to them directly. The way you express yourself in your fashion. I've seen your choreography. Definitely, that radiates confidence. But especially in dance, why is confidence important? Why is it important to unlock that confidence if someone lacks it? And how did you find your confidence?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of questions. Whew. Okay.
Let's start with why confidence. Why is confidence important as a whole?
Confidence. I feel like confidence is important. I just saw something though, a friend of mine put out. His name is Nick Cherwink. He coaches music artists.
Okay.
And I had actually gone to high school with him.
What's his name? Nick what?
Nick Cherwink.
Cherwink. Very
Uh-huh.
interesting last name.
And I saw something that he put out recently. And mind you, I just did a huge confidence seminar for women on
Oh,
International
you did?
Women's Day
Yeah, I
at
didn't know that.
Hotel Hyatt
that's dope.
in
That's
Tampa.
dope.
And he put this thing out, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have added that. But it was about courage. And I think sometimes courage can be even more important than confidence.
Okay.
Because I don't always feel confident, but I'm
Mhm.
confident in my lack of confidence sometimes, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
Like I'm okay
trust
with
me, yeah.
saying right now I don't feel the most confident about XYZ, and
Mhm.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm confident in being a human, but I do feel like courage sometimes can be even more important
Mhm.
because, for example, if I want to bring something up to you that is bothering me, but I don't quite know how to do it, and I'm kind of worried that you're not going to see me in the way that I'm hoping to be seen in this moment, and I feel triggered, but I feel like I have to say it.
Yeah.
And I say it, and I kind of stumble over my words because I'm not feeling confident in my stance right now because I'm trying to figure me out because this is my first time on earth. That's courage.
For sure.
That's courage.
Yeah. Kind of unlocks confidence. Courage kind of unlocks confidence.
I think so. I think so. And I like that you use the word unlock. So you use the word unlock confidence, and then you use the word find confidence. And I really like the word unlock because I don't feel like what I hear a lot of people say, I'll say as a side note, is that you have to build confidence. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that we're born confident. When we're babies, we're crying and crapping.
Yeah.
And we don't care. We're not like, am I too much?
Right.
I'm sorry, did I wake you?
Is it okay to shit right now?
We're out there.
Right.
Now, mind you, there's certain elements of our brain, if someone's listening to this and they're a psychologist, that aren't developed at that point. But I think at our core, like, we do feel confident. I think it's layers of crap that other people have put on us, that society has put on us, that we have decided to grab and put on us because of what we're seeing other people say and do to themselves. And I feel like it really just shrouds us in crap. And it covers our confidence. And so for me, confidence is just taking all those layers off, is uncovering those layers to, at your core, be who you already are, which is confident. But you're letting other things cover that for you and hide that from yourself even sometimes.
So when did you find confidence? Or let me rephrase that. When did you fully choose to walk in your confidence?
Yeah, that's tough because if on a surface level, I would say I've always been like a feisty, confident girl. But there's layers to it. So, and I don't know if it's confidence or courage, but like when I was younger, I mean, I would say and do anything.
That's liberating.
Anything.
That's very
like,
liberating.
You want to climb this mountain? Let's do it. Like I was traveling as a kid. I think part of it is I was left alone a lot, so I had to figure it out. And I was already fiery and sensitive. So you better.
You mentioned a sister. Is your sister younger or older than you?
I have two little sisters,
You know.
but I didn't live with them.
Okay.
I didn't live with them growing up, but I had to travel back and forth. I was traveling at one point from Alaska to Florida.
Alaska? That's like two
Yeah.
different extremes.
And then I
That's
grew up in
hilarious.
California.
You grew up in
And
California.
I was traveling from California to Florida. Someone in my family lived in Florida, and I was navigating it on my own the majority of the time.
Mm.
I was on standby flights navigating my way through the airport. Like, I think I spent the night in San Francisco airport when I was 16 by myself because my flight left and like no one was going to come get me. So I was like, okay. It was like no le importa. Like, it was no big deal. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to tie my bag to my belt loop so that if someone tries to steal this in the middle of the night, I'm in the lobby. Yeah, I'll wake up and it'll be fine. And at my school, I mean, I almost got jumped the first day of middle school, like a group of girls. Like, I grew up in a really rough area. So I feel like from that, you develop.
It's real life Mean Girls over there.
You develop, like, if you're not confident, like.
You become the prey.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, did I know how to fight? No. But if you try to fight me, I'm going to fight you.
Right.
Because if I'm the girl who doesn't step up the first time, I'm going to get beat up a lot. So I feel like being put in that situation, which sucks. Like, I hate it now, even feeling my stomach. I'm like, oh, it sucks. Like, I don't like that. But that was a position I was in. So I feel like that developed some confidence, but not enough. Not enough because I was still hiding parts of me, in the sense that there were little parts that were missing. So I would read a poem. I don't care. I will skip the party. I mean, I had a good time in high school. I don't want to be here. It's like, oh, it's popular. Like, I had a great time in high school. I feel like I was in a very loving environment overall. I feel like I had a lot of social capital. That was amazing. I got along with most people, but I was not afraid to skip the party.
Yeah. And
go hang out with the kids from my AP classes who wanted to do like a medieval knights thing. I was like, that's dope. Like, you know, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to the party. Like, these kids just invited me to medieval nights. Like, hell yeah. So I feel like I was always myself, but there were little things I hid. So like, if there was a skill I didn't have, I would kind of hide it a little. I wouldn't be like, oh no, I don't have that skill yet. I would pretend, which to me isn't confidence.
No,
it's not. So I feel like.
You feel like people will find you too smart or too well skilled? Like, you don't want to intimidate people, or you don't want to be like snobby?
No, what was the reason why you were hiding? I didn't have yet.
Oh, that you didn't have.
And
I misunderstood.
I remember there were a couple times two things come to mind. You ready for this? Sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. Two things come to mind. So one was there was a tumbling skill in gymnastics I didn't have.
Okay.
And I remember, here I am. I'm so confident. I think I'm like sophomore class president, like 5 AP classes. I'm captain of the cheerleading team. I'm doing choreography already. Like, I'm getting paid to do choreography. I'm traveling around the country. I had just been flown to London.
What year? How do you know? So this is the year 16?
I was 16 at this point.
Okay, 16. Okay.
Yeah, I just flown to London. I had just been in Houston. Like, I'm doing my thing. Yeah. At the same time, I have a booming social life. I'm in the newspaper.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm like smoking weed in the car with my friends.
But you don't know how to tumble,
I'm doing
though.
it. I'm doing it all. Well, I did, but there was one skill I didn't have.
Right.
And this girl is sitting next to me, and I'm in history class or something. And she asked me, what level are you in gymnastics? And I lied. And I told her I was another level. And I remember feeling it at the time. I remember at the time being like, you're lying. And I just like went with it. And it's fascinating to me that I did that. But there was something in me that felt like she wouldn't accept me if I wasn't this level.
And at this point, you're so used to being accepted too.
I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
And here's this girl who I don't even know if she really knows anyone. And I'm lying to her. And I find that fascinating. There was another thing. So I get to...
Hold on, tell me. So what happened when it was time to tumble?
I was really good. I was really good. So first of all, I was very good.
Okay.
It's not that I wasn't good. I was good. Also, I was the type who would just be like, well, I guess I'm going to do it now. So like, I would just throw it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'd be like, no, this is my level. And then I'd be like, and just do it. Just try to do the thing. That's how I was, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because that helped me a lot in the future. If they were like, are you qualified for this job? That I'm not. I'd be like, I'd be like, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, gotcha. To get in?
It was it was a lie. Like, it wasn't like, oh no, I'm capable of this. It was just like, because I wasn't saying I'm capable of this. I was saying this is what level they have me in, which was just a clear lie. There's a difference between saying, oh, I could do that move, try me. That's confidence. I like that. That's good energy. But I knew up to that point, I was not at that level. And I said, this is the level they have me
That's a
at.
flat out lie.
It was just a
Just
flat.
straight cappery.
It was a lie. And then there was another time I'm in middle school, and I get to this middle school, and it's crazy because even a lot of my friends there now don't realize how rough it was where we grew up because they're in it. I didn't know until I moved. I was like, oh, you don't have drive-bys on your street? I did. And it was so normal. Isn't that crazy? So normal for me. And it's terrifying. And I remember I get to middle school, and I hadn't been accustomed to this environment. I had just moved from an island.
From an island?
From an island in Alaska.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right. Alaska.
Yeah, and I moved to California.
Northern or southern?
Northern.
Okay, northern.
Bay Area.
Okay.
And I start my middle school. I almost get jumped. And then I'm reading the area, and I'm like, oh, okay.
We're not on the island no more.
This is for real, for real. And there were other real things on the island, right? Like literally survival. 10 years old, I had to take survival.
Yeah.
2 weeks, I had to carry a knife with me everywhere. They taught us about bears, hypothermia. I'm having to create fires out of flint sticks. They send us at 10 to the other side of the island to survive for several days to test our training.
Oh, wow.
It's hailing, and I'm little. I'm smaller than I am now, probably same size head, very small body, very big head. I'm dragging, I probably weigh 50 pounds, driftwood to build a fort while I'm getting pelted with hail on the other side of the island. And they're like, hey, like if bears come, here's what we're going to do. You tuck your head, like crazy stuff. So I'm like, I mean, I'm
survival.
I'm like, okay, I'm just reading it. I'm not aware. I'm too little to know that this is not normal. So I end up bringing to the school, because you've got different gangs there, and I end up bringing to the school my yearbook from the year before. Before I got to school, took markers and I tagged in my yearbook as if other people had tagged in it, so that when I brought it to school, to my new school, they would open it and be like, oh, she knows.
Yeah, it's a very sheltered thing to do. Yeah.
I was like,
it's hilarious.
I know about the gangs.
It's hilarious, by the way.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But there's a lack of confidence there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so I say those two things to say, like, I feel like some people may never admit something like that. I'm confident enough to be like, hey, I did these two things that come to mind where I'm like, whoa. I say I was confident. Everyone would have been like, wow, she's so confident. But it came from a place. Where's it coming from? Yeah. It came from a place of there was something missing in the confidence piece, because confidence has to be a whole. You have to see all parts of yourself. It's accepting your shadows too. And if your confidence piece looks like this, like a Pac-Man, and there's a chunk of it missing, and then you start doing things like making a lie about something, you could be real confident, but you're missing the full circle, or you're drawing in your yearbook and saying things that aren't true, not just because you're like, oh, I'm going to survive. No, like you're kind of doing it to fit in. Yeah. Also, then I feel like that's where you have to expose that, and where you have to say it's not that it's missing, but something's covering that. Something someone has told you before has made you feel like you're not fully accepted in all of who you are. And so you're trying to posture to be accepted. Sure. But if you can uncover, like, who did that to you? Or you can at least say, I don't care who did it, but I'm taking this off of me. Like, I'm taking this little cover, this piece of tape covering my confidence. I'm ripping that off, and I'm going to show it to myself first. Yeah. And then to other people. That's confidence. Now you can be confident.
How much of a lack of confidence you see in when you're teaching choreography? Because I'm not trained, but I could tell when a person's confident when they're dancing when they're not.
I won't call it I think confidence can be situational. I won't call it a lack of confidence. I'll call it how much is someone hiding.
Mm.
They're being covered. They have coverings. So I think they have the confidence. It's
Yeah.
in there,
Right.
but something's covering it. Something someone said one time, the way they've been treated, the way they've been hiding from themselves. So for me,
Right.
I'll feel like I can feel that you're wearing something on the outside, and like I want to see your soul, and I know I can't see it. Like I'm kind of going like this, and I feel like you're hiding it from me. I feel like it's blurry, and I'll feel it. I feel it. Like I feel it. I can't even sometimes pinpoint it, but I'm like, there's more, and I freaking feel it. I can feel if it's just like a skill you don't have, but you are like, this is me, and I'm working for it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I feel like it's covered, and my job is to say, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe, and start like pulling posters off a wall.
Sure.
Until
Absolutely.
like the core of the wall is revealed, and that's the beauty. That's who someone is. That's their essence.
Yeah, it's their. I mean, from a different standpoint, I never like dance or did choreography or whatever, but identity leads to purpose. Purpose leads to destiny. So, kind of like what you're saying is kind of like freeing them to be themselves, who they truly are, no holds bar, in a complete abandonment.
Yes.
Is being able to find your identity, and not just in a creative aspect, but just in life. People who don't find their identity never really find their purpose because they spend a lot of their time trying to find themselves, and then that take you down a slew of things: bad relationships, if it's romantic or if it's friendships, bad like job scenarios that you just put up with, bad. The list goes on, you know. But once someone's free and they find their identity, who they truly are, who they were created to be, and that moves them into their purpose. And the greatest thing in life is finding, is accomplishing your destiny. Like, what was the whole point of me being on God's green earth? You recently did a fitness commercial.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was awesome. Can I say something though?
Of course.
Because you just like ignited me a little.
Mhm.
I feel like we have these whispers. So first of all, I feel like when you talked about identity and like who you are, I think a lot of people have a really hard time figuring out who they are.
Yeah.
Because they are looking for themselves. But you're right here. Like you're right here. You're looking for yourself. You're here. Your body wants you to hear the whispers, the subtle whispers of what you want and what you yearn for. And you're going, shh, I'm finding myself. Shh, I'm finding myself. And your body's trying to tell you what you want and who you are and who you're destined to be. And I think the other part is we get confused with ourselves because we think we're supposed to be how other people perceive people, which is very one-dimensional. So we're like, well, who am I? Because sometimes I'm like this, and sometimes I'm like this, and sometimes I'm like this, and sometimes I'm like this. So like, who am I?
Yeah.
And the first question is, when do you feel least exhausted?
Very powerful.
That's probably the closest thing to who you are. If I leave a social situation and I feel exhausted, it's because there was a part of me that wasn't fully aligned into myself in that moment.
Come on, for sure.
And that's how I know I'm out of alignment. If I leave a social situation and I go, I'm tired, I'm like, oh my God, I was not fully embodied in myself in that moment. And then the other part is we are a lot of things. And to be who you are is just to be okay and accept yourself as you are in each moment. Because you can feel happy doesn't mean I'm a happy person. You can feel sad. It doesn't mean you're a sad person. Yeah. You're just allowing yourself to like feel and flow with life. And for that person of who you are, as long as you're feeling aligned in your core, to like evolve and be different. Sometimes I'm silly. Sometimes I'm very serious. Sometimes I'm snappy. Sometimes I'm so grace-giving and forgiving. And sometimes I feel nurturing. And sometimes I feel very selfish. A lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people are so one-dimensional that they struggle to grasp onto that. And then we start going, okay, well, if they don't understand,
let's fall in line to please them.
Let's try to figure out what my brand is.
Yeah. Kanye, I forgot where I saw him. It may have been his Joe Rogan interview or somewhere else, but he said something very profound. in the midst of his biggest meltdown, but I'm not getting into all that shit. But he said that who we are as people is the only thing in life that we take one dimensional. It's like when we eat food, food is so many things to make up. Let's say we're eating chicken. Depending on what kind of chicken you're eating, it's just not just chicken. It's breaded, has sauce on it,
Yeah.
it's seasoned with a whole bunch of seasoning. When we listen to music, music is just not. We don't listen to a song, very rare anyway, that it's just like one stroke of a note from a guitar. It has bass, it has drums,
Oh
it
my
has when we sing a song, we just don't sing on one note. We harmonize, we melodize, we so forth and so on. So he says that I'm kind of to piggyback what you're saying. He's like, I'm so many things in one, and sometimes people can't handle that. That's why a lot of times I'm taken wrong or mistaken for, or my words are taken wrongly, or whatever the situation may be. But I found that so sincere because truly, that's true. I run smoke shops, right? And I'm a very like bubbly person. I'm very welcoming when people come into the store.
Yeah.
But one day out the month, I might be just chilling, not like even depressed,
Yeah.
sad, or anything. But I'll just be not. I probably won't say hi on the same high note that I'll say hi as they usually walk in, and someone will stop me like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, bro, just chilling.
Yeah.
It's my Friday. I'm just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's okay to not always be or trying to live up to someone's expectation of what you are all the time. Because that's naturally who I am. Yes, I do get excited when I see people, and I love welcoming people and making people feel at home. But I'm not going to sacrifice, my chill moment, my chill mode, because you want me to be, ecstatic 24/7. It's impossible. There's not no human is like that anyway. I'm on a
That
real
part.
level. Let me ask you this:
Oh, you're okay.
What's a pet
I could
peeve?
just go on that.
What's a pet peeve in a relationship? Let's get a little fun with it.
Whoa.
It doesn't have to be one, but what's some of your pet peeves in a relationship?
I feel like pet peeves is a tough word for me because I feel like it depends on the person.
Sure.
Because if I really vibe with you, one thing that you do might actually not bother me in the same way if someone else does it.
Dive deep, a little deeper into that because that's a great. I understand what you're saying, but for the audience, pet peeve.
Let's see.
You're already thinking. Your whole aura change right now.
Yeah. Because I'm trying. I want to give a real example.
Sure.
I don't want to give some BS thing, and I'm just like, oh, this feels fine to say because of the flow. No, I want to be authentic. Yeah. Okay. I'll give something small. If someone isn't like obsessed with my dogs, if I really vibe with you, and we connect, and you don't know how you feel about dogs yet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you were attacked when you were younger. I don't know your life. Maybe that's just not animals. You haven't quite come around to like feeling the same feeling I have for animals yet.
Yeah, that's a great example.
But if I really vibe with you and I feel connected with you, I give you space to be full human because there are things that you might have felt in this world that you're going to inspire me to feel as well. And so that's okay. But if I don't really vibe with you and you come in and you're a guy and you're not messing with my dogs, I'm like, you're lame. Does that make sense?
Total.
I'm like, you're lame. Yeah. But if I vibe with you, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like,
yeah,
you're a person.
So fully vibe in the relationship aspect, spiritual, mental, and physical. I feel like if you don't meet those three criteria, you're not fully gonna vibe with somebody. What does it take for Kelly to fully vibe? When you're using that word.
Oh my gosh.
So when you're fully vibing with someone, what is that?
On a romantic level, because that's different for me. Okay.
For sure.
Safety. I am at my core, I am a deeply feminine woman, and I have to feel safe. And what that requires is that you have structure as a man. It doesn't mean you don't have emotion. It doesn't mean you don't have feelings. That's not what I'm saying. It doesn't mean you don't have hardship. I want you to be full human as well. Mm-hmm. But for me to show up in a way that allows me to fully express my essence to you and to vibe with you, I need that you are protective in your energy and that you hold space for that part of me. Because if I'm going to be flow, which is my natural state, I
Yeah.
need guardrails.
Mhm.
And I need to know that you have those guardrails, or else I'm going to put them up on myself, and that's going to be a wall against you. Because I'm coming into this feeling like I have to protect me from you, because you can't even open the door for me. And if you can't see me through the door, then I'm have to have my own protection up, like I do when I'm alone, where I'm going, who's there? Who's there?
Right.
I have to open the door for me, and therefore I cannot just like be with you. So something like opening the door, for example. Like I love if a guy picks me up and comes to my door and opens the door for me, but not from a place of entitlement, like you're a guy, do this. It's from a place of, I feel like you don't have to do those things. You don't. You're a grown man. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I can't fully express myself, because those things for me is a signal that you have things on lock. Like you have the situation under control, and you want to make sure that you see me from point A to point B. You want to make sure that you're at my door, because as soon as I'm in your care, you have things together. And it doesn't mean that there's not going to be times where like we're vibing off each other and I'm throwing you something and we're teamwork here.
Right.
But for me to get to that place with somebody in a romantic way, those guardrails have to be set first, because then I'm not thinking about it. Then I'm not thinking about what you're doing and what I'm doing, and then it becomes natural.
Yeah, it defines the relationship, and it sets a standard. So you feel protected. You're not worrying about protection anymore, because you already know that's covered.
Yes.
So protection's one.
Yeah. Protection. And that includes holding space for my emotions.
Right.
I am a female at the end of the day, and I don't want to dump my emotions on you, but sometimes I'm going to feel it may be perceived to you that I'm all over the place. But for me, I'm a woman. So of course, I'm like a river splashing around.
Making
sometimes.
you feel comfortable expressing yourself?
Yeah. Being able to hold space for that, and not being like, whoa, that was scary. Instead, just being like,
that's Kelly.
Sounds like a girl to me.
Right.
In the same way that if you're locked in point A to point B, and you're like, look, I need man time right now, and I have a job to do, and I need to hustle, and I love you, but when I'm with you, I'm worried about protecting you, and so right now I need to do this alone. I can hold space for that too. And I'm not going instead I'm going, thank you for communicating that with me. That's holding space for me. That's putting the guardrails around me.
Yeah.
That's putting the guardrails around me. That's saying, hey, you can freak out as much as you want in this box, because I'm telling you you're safe in here, but I'm telling you I need to go do man things. And I'm like, okay.
Do you feel like we have more than one soulmate in life?
I don't know.
Do you feel like we have one soulmate?
I don't know.
Interesting. Do you feel like you ever came close to one?
No. No. I've had people that I have connected with on a very, very deep level. But no. Yeah.
I can believe that.
I have people that like that feeling of like, oh, maybe. But then when I think about it, no. Because for me, I'm a lot of things. And I need someone who will let go in life a little. Like if you're not gonna sit in the grass with me, that's hard for me. If you're not gonna meet me where I'm at, like if you're not gonna open yourself to the wonders of life, and you're just kind of I do normal things type of person, and you're not gonna get up out of nowhere and be like, let's go jump in the car and jump in the ocean. Like that's hard for me. So it's like the people who I feel like I connect with best, if they say, what do you want to do? And I say, I want to go jump in the ocean right now. They're like, we're in the car. Who cares? You jump in the ocean. Jump in the ocean, get out of the ocean. Like, what are we going to do? Sit at home?
Yeah.
Read a book? That's cool too. But come on. If we can't do things like that, like it's not even fun. Like, what are we doing? We're just dying in normalcy.
Have you found it easy to meet people at their place?
What do you mean?
Like how you're saying that you need somebody that's able to meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
Do you find it easy for you when it's vice versa, when sides are turned, that you're able to meet them where they're at?
You have to give me an example.
So, for example, you like, for example, you need someone who's able to sit on the grass and jump in the ocean with you.
Yeah.
But if let's say someone is into something that may not seem you know what you would usually do on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, 100%.
If that's like I'm not saying you're not, but let's use an example. You're not into classical music. You don't want to go listen to a symphony,
Oh, I love adventure.
so you're down with it.
100%.
Got you.
Depends on what it is. If they're
Mhm.
like, hey, let's go do drugs,
Yeah, that took a left turn real quick.
that's
I got
not
you.
me.
Yeah, I got you.
But if it's like, hey, I'm really into building toy cars, I don't know. I've never done that.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
So no drugs?
I'd be like, no, not
No
me.
weed?
No.
Liquor?
A little, but not really.
Okay.
Yeah. I would be like, let's go build some freaking cars. Like, bet. Like, bro, we gonna go race? Like, I'll dress up in a race car outfit and we'll go build toy cars. Like, I'm down for you.
Right.
If I'm down for you, what? Let's
That's
go
dope.
do weird
so you are
stuff.
good. You are good at it. Okay, that's good. That's dope. That's dope. So are you single now?
I am.
So what's the most sought after quality when a guy approaches you?
Oh, boy.
You never know who's looking. This is the internet, you know? So if a guy
I
does
mean, you
want to
can't give all
approach
the
you,
secrets away.
oh, don't give all of them. We'll just give one away.
The most desired quality?
Like for me, eye contact is huge for me when I'm speaking to someone, especially if I'm like into that person.
Yeah.
Like if you can't look me in the eye and talk to me, that's like that's a big no for me.
I feel like for me,
But I'm talking about just the initial approach.
yeah. I'm trying to think of what's worked. Because I could say something, but I think a lot of times we say something, but we want something different.
No, give me what you want.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'll be like, oh, confidence. But if you come at me a little too confident, I'm like,
Ew.
what makes you think you can talk to me? I don't get like that, I swear. I'm sweet. But I would say very, very authentic and genuine. Like,
Okay.
if someone can be super authentic.
Mm.
So, can I give an anecdote? So, someone
Absolutely.
came up to me a while ago and they said, hey, I'm going to be honest. I've been trying to think about what I was going to say to you for the past 30 minutes, and I couldn't find an answer. So I figured I would just
That's
walk
sweet.
up and say hi. And I was like, I love that. And it wasn't a game. Like, it felt, you can read authenticity. It felt so authentic. And I was like, I love you. I'm in love with you. I was like, but no, thank you. But I'm in love with you. No.
Sweet. It's very
So
sweet.
something like that. Yeah.
It's very honest, very sincere. I like that.
Sincerity.
I just feel like people aren't honest. Now, I'm like that not just in my relationship. I'm like that with just general relationships in general. You know, that's why I'm as a human being. But honesty's everybody wants it until they get it. So it's like, and I'm probably falling to that, you know, a lot of times as well. But I just need honesty. That's the only thing I ask
But
for.
is honesty fully stripped down transparency?
Is honesty full down transparency?
Yeah, because I think you
It depends on the person.
Because I think you can be honest
Mhm.
while not ripping it out. Does that make sense? While not saying every little thing.
Right. Well, there's honesty, and then there's bluntness.
Does that
and
make
there's
sense?
Yeah, just being transparent. Yeah, of course. I think that there's now you never want to fall into manipulation either. I don't want to tell you I'm being honest, and I tell you something that is honest, but then leaving out 3 other parts that kind of don't make that shit honest. You know. So it's like you going back to what you're saying is ripping everything out. So I believe if a person is coming to me, and I mean, you know, we're not getting to age, but I'm old enough to know when someone's being sincere at this point in my life. Unless they're the
Yeah.
greatest con artist, I know when someone's being sincere, especially when it comes to women. I know if I want to pursue someone after a short amount of time,
Yeah.
and that's huge.
How long?
So if I'm
How long
pursuing
is that?
someone, well, I never been in a serious relationship. I never been in love, you know, because of that. So for me, it's like usually 3-4 month period.
Oh, that's a while.
Usually it's less than that, but I'm saying usually if I really like someone, it's usually 3-4 months. Usually I'm done in a month, to be honest with you. But I'll give someone that I really
Wow.
like 3 or 4 months. Because there's one thing you don't get back in life, is time. That's one thing I don't get back. So if I'm not interested in you, why am I gonna waste 3-4 months? For what? Mine and yours. That's not being respectful to me, and that's not me being. This sounds so harsh. This is not being respectful
No,
to
that's
you.
beautiful.
You know, so
It
like for
doesn't sound
me,
harsh.
it's like we, and most of the times it's very rare I have like a negative like breakaway from a person that I had a fling with, but it's like, yo, I don't think you're gonna raise my kids and decorate my house. I don't see us having a real future together. Like if you're single, I'm single, we want to go catch a show, or we want to be cool, whatever else that looks like, then cool. But I'm just letting you know right now, I don't see this as a future.
Yeah.
And I just wish sometimes, not, I mean, everyone, but obviously I'm talking to women. I wish women could be more honest in their expectations, because then I hate you talking to a person, you stay friends with them 3-4 months later, and they're like, well, this is what I was trying to say, or this is what I was trying to convey. But I was like, well, why didn't you just say that or convey that?
Sometimes it's hard.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Sometimes
yes,
I
for
have
sure
no
it's hard.
idea what I feel. So
Mhm.
so when we talk about honesty and transparency, sometimes I'm honest but not transparent because I don't know what it is yet.
Mhm.
And so for me, sometimes I'm quiet, or I'm guarded, perhaps is the word, because
Smart.
I actually don't know.
It's wisdom, yeah.
And so I may not be able to say something. And so someone might perceive that as like passive aggressive, or they might perceive that as like me withholding something. But really, it's that, hey, I'm not sure actually yet if this is if I think all my emotions are valid, but I don't know if this is fair or if I'm feeling triggered.
And that's a tough
Is
one
this
too.
you? Do I want to hear from you more because I really
Wanna have
need
healthy
to hear from
communication?
you more?
Right.
Or is it because I fear abandonment and
Mhm.
this feels like reassurance to me?
Yeah.
And so I don't even know what I'm asking for yet. And so for me, a lot of times I think sometimes I'll be like, and I'll be quiet because I'm not sure. And sometimes that could be perceived as a lack of transparency, and that's hard.
Yeah, and if you like someone and it's 2 months in, and someone tells you, "I'm not sure what this is yet," it takes a real person. It takes someone thick skin to be like, "That's fair, and I appreciate you being honest." Most of the times, like, "Well, what do you mean? We shared this moment together. We did this together. We had this moment. So now you're telling me that you're not sure." So again, it's not for everyone. I'm not saying my level of honesty is for everyone, but I would have more respect for someone. It kind of goes back to when you said a guy 30 minutes trying to think of a whole bunch of things to say, just comes and said, I can't think of anything because my mind's going crazy. I just know I want to say hi to you. I'd rather have a woman be like, yo, I'm not sure what this is yet. Whenever she feels that way, then I know, okay, now I know this is what I'm getting into. Because that's a genuine, sincere emotion you're expressing to me out of a real place. So if I'm moving forward with you now, then I know what I'm getting into. I think that's more of like the biggest thing about relationships to me, is that like people make up this match, or they make up this dream, or they make up this perception of what you're getting into, and then like 2 months later pass, and it's like, bro, you just could have been honest. Like, you didn't have to waste this last 3 months.
Yeah.
Because in your mind, if you like someone, you're making plans, or you're envisioning this thing, and the person not being honest with you, and then they just hit you with that one day. It's like, well, thanks just for the fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
That's just what it comes down to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from my number one, my background. I have health issues, so I'm not trying to be like morbid, but I don't know, when this comes to an end. That sounds really like a little bit too morbid, but it's true. And I wasted a lot of time in like hospitals. I wasted a lot of time in a career that didn't work out the way I thought it would. I spent a lot of time believing things that I had to unwire myself from believing. So with me, it's just like, we think we always have more time, but we really don't. Yeah. So I just want to enjoy the fuck out of the time. I'm 36 now, so I just want to enjoy the fuck out of the life I have now. And if it works, it works. If I'm not gonna be butthurt over it either. But baby girl, just tell me what you want, and that's fine. Then we'll figure it out from there. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying they're perfect. I'm not saying that it always has to be
nothing
this
like
perfect. This beautiful communication is gonna happen overnight, because that's unrealistic too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that just be honest with what you want and with what you really see happening in this situation. I'll tell you how I feel, and then we'll decide if we want to keep going.
Yeah.
But let's not waste time.
I think, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
We've never been married.
What?
Have you been married before?
I don't speak of that.
That's fine. So you've been in serious relationships, obviously. Now, me asking that question. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what it's like to be in something.
But not really.
Okay, but you know what it's like to be in something.
I don't think I've ever really been in love. Like you said, you haven't been in love?
Yeah.
I don't think I've really been in love.
Yeah, I've never been truly. When I hear of people speaking of love and I see their love, I know I haven't experienced that yet. Have I experienced infatuation, lust? Have I been in love with someone? For sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think I experienced true, genuine love between two people in a relationship.
Yeah. Maybe when I was like 16.
I don't consider that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, 16, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. But I don't think so. But all those things are hard because I also think like I feel like there's a layer of depth that I think is really important to get to, and that layer is really uncomfortable. Like I think a genuine conversation with another adult with feelings where it's actually this deeper layer, because I don't want some regular shit.
Oh, surface talk's
I
horrible.
I don't want something regular.
Yeah.
Like
Or
I
basic.
don't want something where it's like, oh, and we hang out together and then we
Yawn.
got married
Yawn.
and then
Yawn.
we now live and we do activities.
I'm in my third dream.
Want
I'm in my third dream
what
already.
I need
Yeah.
is for we are across the room from each other and we have developed a deep trust and magnetism that comes from time, comes from transparency, it comes from vulnerability, that we can look across the room and like, I see you and you see me.
Mhm.
And it's like, I can go back to what I'm doing. I want my man to feel free. Like I want to set you free. Like I want you to be, I want you to feel more inspired and more empowered from being with me. It doesn't mean that I don't expect communication.
That's a beautiful thing.
I
Yeah, that's
love
incredible.
communication.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need communication because it helps me feel safe.
Well, communication leads to trust, trust leads to love.
Yeah.
That's like mandatory. in a
Yes,
relationship,
yes,
for
yes,
sure,
yes, yes. So I need communication. Like I need that, not for control, but for like, this makes me feel safe.
Right.
Even if it's, hey, I'm not going to be able to communicate with you for 2 days.
Oh yeah,
That's communication.
Yeah, especially as you get older.
I feel
that's
great.
That's a beautiful thing.
I don't have to worry about it. But for me, like I'm a woman, and so I feel anxious for my man, and my man might feel very independent. But I am naturally going to feel like this. And you sometimes naturally may feel like this, and that's okay as long as you're communicating with me. Hey, I need 4 days. Hey, I can maybe not 4, but like whoa.
Yeah.
But I question myself on that. But I think I need.
That was so genuine. I'm sorry. That was hilarious.
I was like, wait a minute. But I need communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not for the purpose of control. We talked about earlier, where does it come from?
Mhm.
It comes from a place of it makes me feel safe, not from a place of I want to control you. So I don't want something regular. And to be irregular, to have something like a deeper, requires awkward, I think, conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
It requires me to be
get
like,
out of the comfort zone. Absolutely.
and you to be like, and you might feel like that's a lack of chemistry, but that's just like
No, that's real.
We're like,
I wish that would have
digging a hole and it's weird.
Yeah.
And my hands hurt and this feels uncomfortable because we're trying to get to another layer. And I'm like, I'm tired. You tired? I'm tired. You're tired. Like,
do you know what that is
hard.
though too? Is because that eventually comes anyway. Look, because my background, and because of me just being able to be in professions where I just known a lot of people. Let's say out of the 2,000 couples I know, I only know of like 3 happily like married.
So many people are miserable, and that's my fear of a relationship.
And people say, well, how do you know what happily is? Bitch, I know what happily married is, So, or not even married, just in a long-term relationship,
Yeah.
So it's like, is there full trust? Is this person really know like what you're feeling? Are you guys on the same level of what makes you happy and what you want to pursue in life? The one advice is, I never been married, so when I married couples, the only advice I ever gave, let's say you're 23, all right? So at 25, you're a different woman. At 27, you're a different woman. At 29, you're a different woman. At 32, you're a different woman. So what does that mean?
Today I'm a different woman than I was yesterday.
Your taste buds change. Your where you want to go on vacation changes. Your hobbies change. Where you want to live changes. Where you want to send your schools change. The list goes on. You change.
Yeah.
But if you're not with someone who's willing to grow with you, then it's never gonna work out. And I've seen that over and over. And look, I mean, I'm not like an insensitive freak either. People have bills and they have kids and they thought they loved this person. Now they got 3 kids and. But whatever that looks like for you, I'm not going to be an asshole and tell you what you're wrong for doing what you're doing. Obviously, no honeymoon stage lasts forever. No infatuation lasts forever. You give yourself the opportunity to fall in love again. God bless you. I hope it works out for you. I'm just saying, I waited this long in my life to be in a relationship with someone, so I'm definitely not going to fucking settle now. What will be the point of that?
But how do you know what it's like unless you try? Because
I think sometimes, I know, I put myself out there.
I think you gotta kind of go all in to know what it would be like, because I think there's these weird things at the beginning. Because when I picture like moments too, right? And not that I want to get stuck on a vision, because I don't like. I don't think I don't paint what I want the day to day to be like. I just know how I want a healthy dynamic, and I know what that looks like, and I know how I want that to be, and how I want the communication to be. But I think it's the small moments of like, what do we do when we're just hanging out and we're bored? we have nothing to do. Like, are we ever bored? Like, for me, that's where you find out if this person is your person. Not in the dating phase where you're like going on dates and you're like, ugh, like, oh my gosh, okay, we're at another nice restaurant. Like, okay, yawn.
Yeah.
Right? What happens when we've become more comfortable with each other and we're chilling and we're sitting there, and now I'm like, yo, do you want to go jump in the ocean? Do you want to read a book? Can I lay on your lap and read a book? And like, those are the moments. And I feel like unless you're willing to communicate more, let your guard down, get to that place, I just don't feel like you can really know. You can know, okay, so here's how I'll look at it. It's like putting on a shoe. Sometimes you just know you don't like the shoe, you don't even want to try it on. Sometimes you start to put the shoe in and you realize like your foot's way too wide for the shoe or something. So you're not even going to try the shoe. But a lot of times you like the shoe, you kind of want to wear the shoe. Sometimes you feel like that shoe is a little out of your reach. You're like, I don't even know if I can walk in that shoe. That shoe's a little expensive for me, but it's a reach shoe and I like that shoe. And sometimes, like for me, it's like, oh, that heel's really high. I wonder if I can rock it. If you put your foot halfway in and then try to walk around and try to jog around and then say, oh, it's never going to work because I didn't get the feeling I want. How do you know? Yeah. You got to put your foot all the way in the shoe and take a jog. And I mean emotionally. I don't mean physically. I'm a slow mover, so that would take time. But it's, you got to put your foot in the shoe and you've got to try it on. And sometimes the best shoe, you got to wear it in. Sometimes the best shoe, right? It's going to be from the finest leather. I like vegan leather, but some of my shoes are leather. It's got to be from the finest leather. That takes time because it doesn't accept just any foot.
Right. You got to mold itself to your foot.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if you're not willing to do that because you only put your foot halfway in, or because you dip as soon as it feels a little uncomfortable inside, then how do you know? And so then you go for the same old kids and then wonder why you live a normal ass life and die a normal ass life because you just wanted to put the, no offense to kids, this is not sponsored by kids. You
not now anyway.
But you put your foot in something basic, and then you're like, I guess I'll just live this basic ass life. Yeah. Like, nah, bro. I'd rather run barefoot till my feet bleed.
Yeah, but some people that basic, and again, this is what comes back to why I want to make that disclaimer. It's like some people do find happiness in that I get a vacation once or twice a year. Sure. And I work for someone, and me and my wife have sex once every 2 months, and like some people enjoy giving bare minimum effort and just saying, "Hey, I put my hands up." Like the things I've heard from a bride and a male before they get married, that's not cold feet, will blow your mind. I'm not gonna put nobody on blast because everybody knows who basically. No, about 50% of my marriages I like publicized, but what I'm saying is that like the things I've heard before people get married will like almost made me want to like not do the wedding the next morning. Like you gotta go figure this shit out because like I'll get on a plane right now and leave. You know?
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. Super scary. Yeah. And some of the shit's like very like raw based. Like this should be the happiest moment of your life. Yeah. But then I'm not gonna say anything someone confided in me. Yeah. But that what they're conveying is the complete opposite of what this moment's supposed to be. Yeah. And you're telling me that this is how you feel, but you're about to take this step. Because a lot of times, look, I've seen this in about 40% of the people that I've come across. And also, too, when I was getting my master's, I shadowed a marriage psychologist. That's part of, like, my training. Yeah. Which majority of, like, people who go to therapy is after they have kids. And they don't know how that dynamic affected their relationship. Yeah. Like, you're not spending no time with me. Like, you're not sexy anymore. We're not, all these things, kid, and it kind of lost the sauce of the relationship. A lot of marriages I come across, they've been together a long time, and they feel like the marriage is going to save the relationship. Like, we need to take this step to save it. Now, subconsciously or unconsciously, big time. And there's nothing worse than seeing a mother or a father who doesn't want to be a mother or a father
become one.
It's a
human being you're bringing into the world.
And it's like, oh, now you fucked them up for the rest of their life. Good job.
I don't play that. It goes back to that idea, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I really believe that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
On Jesus, the white and the black on people. All right, so let's go back into this topic. How did you fall in love with dance? Was it a moment? Was it a teacher? Was it seeing it from afar in a movie? Was it being around it? Was it someone introduced it to you? Give me the full story about dance. Because I came across you initially through Pusha Preem. Salute to Pusha. I know you do some of his choreography, and he mentioned you, and then I was just curious to see, I think I only seen him live do his what choreography was present like once.
Yeah, Legend D Don on
Um,
IG does his main choreography.
yeah, so I'm not sure if I don't know if you're on stage or you just
This is
do
weird.
it for the dancers. Are you on stage when you do it? When you do this?
Mhm.
So I never seen your choreography with his music. But anyway, I
Yeah.
discovered you through him, and I was impressed. I don't come from that background, but I've been around dance a pretty long time, around dancers and
Sure.
dance crews, and I prefer personally. I think contemporary dance is probably the more beautiful
Mm,
of the expressions. That's just me personally.
yeah.
But I enjoy a good hip hop. I enjoy a good jazz routine, and ballet is beautiful to me too. But
Mm.
contemporary to me is that shit.
It's my soul.
That's what really, like, if I'm gonna go see someone dance, like if I'm going to whatever it is, an event, I want to see some contemporary. That's just me personally. But
It's
anyway,
expression.
so how did you come across dance? What made you fall in love with it? You told us before we cut that you fall in love with it every day, which I think is dope. But what when you came across this art from, when did you say this has to be a part of my life and I can't live without it?
Gosh, I so badly want to tell you there's this moment.
Mhm.
And I don't have one that's maybe there's one in there and I like haven't tapped into
Sure,
it,
yeah.
or maybe there's not.
I mean, there's a couple
I'm
of
not
them.
sure. But I mean I started when I was too young to even tell you when I started,
Okay.
So
There's no professional dancers
that's
are
hard
like
to
that.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a professional athlete. You start when yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that I haven't had to, I won't say had to, but I haven't received the opportunity to fall in love with it all over again.
For sure. Yeah.
But I really feel like the closest I can get to that answer is to just go back to my original answer, was that I fall in love with it every day. And I think especially those moments of expression, and for me a lot of times there's so many different moments where I fall in love with it all the time. That's what I can tell you, and it's all different. So contemporary for me,
Yeah.
if I'm in pain, I'm on the way home and I am listening to a song and I am just gonna, I don't even have a goal of what I'm gonna do. I don't care how it looks.
Mhm.
I am just soul to surface moving my body.
Mhm.
And I don't care what it looks like. Like I might be just going like this, and that's what feels good to me in that moment, and that's what feels healing to me, and it has the power to really heal. But other ways I fall in love with it, being in a rehearsal studio until 2 a.m. and I'm bleeding and we're gonna have to run it again and again and again, like I fall in love with that too. Like there's so many different parts of it that I'm just like, like I love this. And I'm injured and you got to push harder, or there's a big show coming up and you have one day to prep, or it's 3 months from now and we're going to drill this every day and you're going to find new ways to execute this movement. And sometimes I just love when I see me doing it raw, like me dancing in a way that's very fresh, kind of like maybe beats in a studio, right? Like you're listening and you're like, this sounds terrible, but maybe there's something I can do with this. Sometimes I fall in love with dance in the sense that I'm working new moves and I'm like, this isn't there. I play it back and I'm like, that's me. But the process of knowing I can work through this movement and I can grow, and literally seeing an analogy in action that like you can grow and you can grow quickly and that nothing is stagnant, like also feels beautiful to me.
How much do you incorporate like improvisational dance?
I incorporate improv a lot. So one way I do it is if the more in touch I am with my emotions, the more I'm dancing every day in my living room and just going. And it might be different songs. It might be something specific I'm trying to tap into, not trying to tap into, allowing myself to tap into, I'll say. But I also incorporate it when I'm doing choreo. So a lot of the time when I start choreography for a new song, I just play the song, or a song comes on and immediately I just start moving. Boom. And sometimes it's fast. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I know exactly this entire thing. I'm going like this. I'm starting here. I'm doing this. I'm going to hit these 3 backbeats. And then
it's very similar to writing a song. Very similar.
Yeah.
Super
and then
similar.
Sometimes I'm listening to the song over and over again and I'm like, I know I'm going to get something from this song, and I feel nothing.
But you want to, right?
I want to, and I'm like, it doesn't work.
It ain't hitting
I'm gonna come back to it. And then sometimes 3 months later, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing to this song. And then sometimes I'm literally over and over again playing it, and different moves are coming out, and it gives me little phrases that I'm going to use and piece together. So there might be a part of the song 45 seconds in, I don't know, in some verse, and I'm like, oh, these 3 8 counts right here are going to hit. And now I'm going to go back, and now there's a phrase in the first 10 seconds of the song, and now I've got one in the middle, and then I start piecing it together, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. So
Yeah.
all the time, both for healing with no purpose, and then also for creating. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, you I came across one of your stories on Instagram, and you were talking about a plant that you had that was struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it was flourishing at the moment you were making the video.
Yeah.
And in ministry, we used to have a phrase that natural things reveal supernatural things. And then you went based on this experience with your plant.
Yeah.
You went on this analogy in life. Can you reiterate a little bit what you were saying about this analogy you had with this plant to our lives, and dive deeper if you want to, or just express your thoughts on that for a little bit?
Yeah, I love that.
Can you rephrase what you were saying?
So I
Just for the
had
audience.
these 3 plants kind of up against my windowsill, and they had been struggling. And so I had moved them to different locations. I'm like, maybe it's going to do well in the light here. Maybe it'll do well in the light here. I tried leaving them alone and not watering them, because I do think we can overwater plants. And I ended up putting them on this windowsill and really trying to feel out what they would need. So I left them alone for a while, saw that that wasn't working. So then I just started watering them more and more and more and more, being sweet to them. And they went from, honestly, I thought they were all going to die. I thought all 3 plants were going to die, and really I was just going to have to throw them out. And I was so sad, but I kept going with it. I left them, and I pulled back the curtain the other day to check them out, because they're behind this little sheer curtain, and they were flourishing. Awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, they're here. And I didn't give up on them. And I was tending to one of the plants, and it had a lot of dead leaves. It was doing well, but it had a lot of dead leaves. And so I just started picking these dead leaves off the plant, like slowly and kindly. And I thought, how similar to our own life, where if we are but kind to ourselves and we prune ourselves with compassion, how we can grow and grow and grow and grow. And for this plant to grow past where it was, I have to take these dead leaves off. Yeah. Like, I have to prune the dead leaves. But I can't pick up the plant and say, why do you have dead leaves on you? These dead leaves are horrible. And then take the plant and smash it onto the ground and stomp on the plant and then wonder why the plant's not growing. And so often we do that to ourselves, because we see these parts of ourselves that are no longer required. These parts of ourselves that are dead and we could feel ashamed of, and we try to hide, and these parts of ourselves that we want to beat ourselves up for, or parts of ourselves that we feel like will prevent us from growing, so we don't even look at them, or when we try to improve them, we're punishing ourselves for having them. But if I punish the plant can't grow. If I punish it for having natural dead leaves that need to be pulled off of it with compassion and grace and kindness, it cannot grow. But how often to ourselves do we have parts of us that we no longer need? They're no longer necessary. They're actually taking away from the parts of us that want to grow, because our soul is trying to nourish those parts of us that need to be cut off. Yeah. And we just start punishing ourselves for having them. We punish ourselves for mistakes and for failures and not showing up well yesterday, or for something that we haven't released yet, for something we feel ashamed for. And essentially, we take ourselves and we smash ourselves into the ground and then wonder why we can't grow and scold ourselves, instead of looking at ourselves as a plant that needs to be watered and tended to and cared for and pruned with grace and with compassion and with kindness and with gentleness, and at the same time not overwater ourselves. Because if we're sitting there and we're like, I want to grow, I want to grow, I want to grow, I want to grow constantly, we're literally drowning ourselves in an obsession with being perfect. Yeah. So there's a balance, just like with a plant. Like, it needs to be watered, it needs to be tended to. It also sometimes needs to be left alone. I'm not saying we need to be left alone, but sometimes we need to leave ourselves alone, a way that we need to heal. If we made a mistake yesterday, sometimes you just need to leave it alone. There's a time to take it and to say, I'm going to prune this. And then sometimes there's a time to just say, I'm going to leave it alone.
Oh, God. It's very good. Very good insight. How important is your spirituality to you?
Very important. I love God.
Mhm.
I'm non-denominational Christian. It's very important to me. I feel like God, when I do what God says, it's always hard, but it's always way less hard than if I ignore what God says. So if God puts something on my heart and I don't do it every single time, that is going to put me in a worse position than if I do the hard thing that God put on my heart. So it's important to me. I feel like I'm growing in my faith all the time, and I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this, but sometimes I am so faithful and put everything in God's hands, and sometimes I try to take it right back from him because it's not the answer I want, or because it's not the timing that I want. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes I'm here, and then sometimes I forget, and then sometimes I'm back. But I feel like it's a daily practice for me, and something that is really important to me.
What drew you to that particular, that medium, that way of thought, that like, why do you choose Christianity over anything else?
It's a good question. I grew up. I did not grow up religious, but I grew up sometimes knowing prayer. So I had known prayer. I knew what prayer was. I had been to Catholic church a few times. The funny thing is, as wild as I was as a kid, I always showed up to my dance practices. I always showed up to gymnastics. I always went home and practiced whatever it was I needed to do. I always did my homework. And if someone was going to church, I always wanted to go.
Interesting.
And even when I was little, I'd be
Yeah.
like, the neighbors are going to church. I want to go. I want to go to church. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
That's a little interesting,
It's
not growing up in
the
that
norm,
environment.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But it wasn't really, I didn't understand it. I didn't have that kind of, that consistent faith in that individual relationship
Yeah.
with God. Like I would say things, but I didn't understand the root of it. I would say I was probably 23, 22, something like that. And I don't count, right? So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, dang, I think I need God. And I had written this poem. And at the end of the poem, I said, I'm giving over the helm to God. And I didn't even know where that came from. It wasn't that I didn't like God. I just didn't have like a strong faith.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I did. And I feel like my life got better. And then I feel like whenever it hasn't been great, he's put things on my heart. And I've been like, shh, it's not the answer I wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning all the time. I'm learning like how to be faithful. And I have friends who I put around me who help me understand what it's like to be faithful and call me out when I'm not, which I think is really important. But I don't know like exactly what called me to God, but I feel like it's always God saying, you need to put it on your heart.
Yeah.
Like you could not know God your whole life, and then suddenly it's on your heart. There's a sign, there's something.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I feel like for me, I started to see people be more outspoken about their faith in God. And for me, when it came to a church that felt very inclusive, which I had visited a few times, I started to feel like, oh, like maybe this is for me.
This is your tribe. This is your home.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's beautiful. So you mentioned this earlier. You've been doing choreography since you were 16. You go to different countries to do it. It's opened a lot of doors for you. What are some of the highlights that come to your mind when you think about it? And what are some of the things you still want to do that you haven't done in that realm? Like I saw you doing a heel class.
Yeah.
So what makes you want to do that? What makes you want to venture out and do more things in dance? Because you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you have done that you were like, man, I'm so blessed that dance brought me to this place and this moment? And then what are some of the stuff you still want to do?
Oh my God, these are so many. I'm so excited about this. So, what's interesting is I said choreo at 16, but actually when I was little, I'm talking like 10, I had a little sister who was 4 years younger than me, and I would wake her up in the middle of the night to train. I had a clipboard and I would train her.
Oh, wow.
To the point, so I would make up choreography and then I would put it on her and then I would train her on the choreography, and then I would come up with concepts, and then I would, if anyone was sitting down, I would sit them down, and then I would like coach her, and I'd be like, you're gonna watch her, and she's about to eat this up right now. You're gonna sit here in this living room. She's about to just go ham, and I would make her little props, and then I would like go backstage, like behind the stairs or something, or a curtain, and I'd be like, okay, go.
Yeah.
And she would go like eat it up. And then I was dancing and performing at the same time. So I would take what I had learned and I would bring it to her, and I would train her to the point where I would wake her up in the middle of the night to do backflips, because I'd be like, if you can backflip in the dark, because I was teaching her to do backflips too. Did I know how to spot a backflip? No. But I was like, yes, I do. Trust me. You know, it worked out. But I would wake her up in the middle of the night because I was like, if you can backflip in the dark, you can backflip anywhere.
Oh wow, that's
and
brave.
so like I didn't play. Like I was locked in.
Yeah.
And then I just kept doing choreos, constantly creating from as early as I can remember. I was writing and making books and creating choreography and just like poetry, and just like loved all of it. But for me, like when I think about the times where I feel most inspired, I have flashes. There's
Yeah,
so
for sure.
many flashes of things. And I would say though, most recently when I was in Colombia, so I went to Medellin and I went to train with this company. I was actually going to go just to Bogota, and there's an amazing studio out there called Bureo, and I was going to teach there again. I had taught there in November. I was going to teach there again in February, like a commercial choreo class. So it's not, heels isn't the majority what I do. It's actually like industry choreography, like hip hop fusion, jazz, funk. But I decided to visit a friend, my friend Laura, who had just moved back to Colombia from Florida.
Salute to
So
Laura.
I was gonna fly into Medellin because it's super easy to get from Medellin to Bogota. But I hit up a dance studio and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna be in Medellin. I'm already gonna be here for this other thing. So like I would actually love to come work with y'all. They said, okay, what's your pricing? You know, we worked all that out. And when I show up, I'm in this place called Sabaneta, right outside of Medellin, and we end up hiking to the top of a building, and there's kids there who are training, and we hiked to the top of a building because the studio was closed, but they were still going to train. Like they don't care, they don't need a studio. Like we're training, and I love that energy. I love that energy. One of my favorite things now isn't to be in the studio; it's to meet in the middle of a park and just express and to jam. Cool. And so I end up following them for 15 minutes. I'm in another country. I've never been here before. And I'm just following them, and I'm so happy because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going and I don't know where we're walking to, but I'm here for it. 15 minutes later, I say, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, where are we going? And they point to the top of a hill, the top of a building. And they said, we're going up there. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And we start off the night by I'm training them under moonlight on a wet rooftop of a building outside of Medellin, trying to speak their language. And they're trying to understand me. And we're here. And we're just sharing our soul and our artistry. And that to me is so beautiful. Yeah. We ended up getting let into the building, and that was great. But
it's pure passion.
Pure passion. Doesn't matter where we are. Doesn't matter.
It's for the love of it. Yeah.
God, that right there.
That's cool.
Is amazing. But also, your girl loves a stage.
Right.
I love a video camera, and I love a stage. So, I mean, anytime I can be performing and expressing, I love it so much. I love it so much.
Anything you want to do you haven't done yet?
I mean, I've done some cool stuff. Like I was Claire in the Nutcracker when I was 12. I got pulled out of school, and my partner was a principal dancer in the San Francisco Ballet who was like grown, and I'm 12. Like, that's cool. That's so cool. I'm flying to London. I don't know. I mean, I've done so many cool things that I feel so grateful for, but I don't live in those moments. I'm right now.
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I doing right now? Like, those are cool. And I think it took me a while to feel like those were cool. It took people being like, I want to know this. Tell me. Because I'm like, it's done. So I can appreciate what I've done, but I always want to do more. I love like I said, I love a stage. I would love to dance for some more music artists and companies and brands, and I've been blessed to work with some amazing brands and dance for some amazing artists. But I always love more, but I don't live for the more.
Dope, dope. Is there anything coming up you want to share with the audience?
Some exciting things. So I do teach heels. I mean, I'm flying out of town tomorrow to go teach a double workshop in Maryland, but I teach heels the first Monday in Tampa of every month. I'm just not in town enough to have it more consistent. So first Monday of every month at the Lab Dance Project. And it's just a beautiful place to express. And guys can come too, but it's more about just like being in your feels and all your essence and energy. But we will be dancing in heels.
Yeah.
But I go over basics. It's all levels. You'll have professional dancers in the room, and you have dancers who have never danced before in the room. And everyone, I think, is just expressing themselves and sharing their art. And then I have some openings coming up for some training for people. And I don't open that very often because I'm not in town enough. So coming up, I'll be in town for about a month, which is probably the longest duration of time I've been in town consistently.
Wow.
And I'll be taking on 10 women who want to improve their heels dancing and their dancing in general and their confidence and expression through that. And then always I'm working with music artists on expression. And there's dancing, sharing with art. So if you dance and you're in the area and you want to collab, you want to vibe, hit me up. You want to train, hit me up.
Yo, salute to your shoe game too.
Thanks.
That's why I told you I would start calling you Thigh High Kev. Because
I don't hate it.
Salute to you.
Thanks.
Shoe game's on Fleekerson. Where does that come from? Like, where's the whole dancing in heels thing? Like, something you always enjoy doing?
Yeah.
Is it the difficulty of it? Like, where does the whole heel thing come from?
Such a good question. So it's actually newer for me in the sense that like I didn't grow up with the heels dance style. Like you said earlier, you know, it was contemporary tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, that kind of thing. And heels for me is something that I got into as an adult, and I'm still learning, just like with every single style. I'll never master any of it. I'm always a student of it. But I feel like for me, the heels, I am such a sensual person. I feel like I am very sensual. And heels for me and the heels dance style, you can do anything with it. So I don't always love saying this is hip hop. I honor where the styles come from,
For sure.
like the root of each style. But I love just like this is expression, this is choreography, because I don't want to lock into a style. So the first thing is with heels, usually it's you can do anything. You're not labeling it a style. It's just you're wearing heels and then you can do whatever you want. So I love that free part of it.
Yeah.
But the other part is the sensuality, where I feel like I can feel so in touch with all of the feminine parts of me. And sometimes I do that in bare feet as well. That's a part of who I am too. But that's not getting people to class. So for me, the heels part of me taps into that sensual part of me that's just for me, because I'm sensual, but I don't think sensual is the same as sexual.
Right.
So when it comes to the sexual part of me, like that for me is that takes time. I'm not that person.
Right.
So for me, because I'm sensual, like I want to be able to tap into that, but in a way that's just for me. That doesn't involve me giving my body to somebody else, but my body is all mine, and I can express it and vibe with it and feel it. And so that's what I love about the heels dance class.
For sure, yeah.
Because those two things are different, and some people don't understand that until
they're not separated too, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, they try to put everything when it comes to that subject in one, and that's unfortunate for sexuality. I feel sometimes that leads to a lot of confidence. We were talking about confidences earlier, in a non-sexual way, and who doesn't want to be desired as well, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, for sure. What are your socials so anyone listening could follow you?
KK Stahl on Instagram, KKSTAL. And then my website is kellyk.love. If you want to check me out, you want to learn a little bit more about me, you want to book me, go to kellyk.love. If you want to learn about me, it's kellyk.love/aboutkellyk.
And then before I let you go, just to anyone who is in dance who may be seeing this, being a professional in dance,
Yeah.
what are some keys that just probably just roll off the top of your head that are important for your specific industry that kind of keep you on a good path for success?
Mm.
Because that world's its own world in itself.
It's its own world. First, resilience.
Mhm.
You need a lot of no's.
For sure.
You need a lot of no's. And it helps to have somebody who is still doing it who has received more no's. Because when you get those no's and you feel like it's such a big deal, you call that person and they say it's okay. It's part of it, remember? It wasn't that long ago. I had been at this big audition in Dallas, like about a year, less than a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Less than a year ago, like in
Okay.
August. And I'm talking, I was back and forth for a while.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid already. I get cut.
Oh, wow.
I could not find my way out of the arena. We're downstairs of the arena, and this is where we're rehearsing. I'm like, I can't find my way out of it. It's
Wow.
part of it. Not a lot of people speak about this, but it's part of it.
And this is a seasoned veteran in the game already.
I get cut. I'm already getting paid. They needed to cut 3 more people, and I knew I had a bad run. It's not an excuse. Everyone in the room was amazing, but I had been injured. I had been flying back and forth into Tampa to get dry needling done on my hip.
Wow.
And I wasn't really rehearsing in the same way before the rehearsals, and I danced crazy. Like, I felt it, and I was like, that was crazy. And they call my name. They're looking for something. At this point, they need you to make a mistake because they cannot make a decision unless
Right.
someone makes a mistake.
Yeah.
Made a mistake. And
So as an athlete, because you guys are preserving your body is key. If you want to have longevity, for sure.
yes, which requires you to use it as much as possible.
Mhm.
But knowing when to rest it, which I'll get to in a minute. So I would say resiliency. I left there. I didn't know how to get out. I had to ask a custodian in Spanish, like I said, no sé cómo salir de
Mhm.
aquí.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how to leave. Like, ¿dónde está la salida? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
you said it right,
Yeah. And he had to walk me, and then I'm in the parking garage, and I'm literally, it's midnight. I'm walking down the street to my Airbnb, and I'm like, right? And
Right,
I
for
call
real.
someone who is
Calms your
seasoned.
spirit.
Oh my gosh. And they were like, get over it. You know, they're like, yeah, it's hard. We'll move on, you know? And that's helpful. And then I would say discipline, to your point. Discipline, and this is something I had to learn and something that God put in my heart last year. I always thought discipline was more, doing more. So I would train, I'm training 40, 50 hours a week, and I'm doing more, right? And I'm like, no, discipline is I don't feel like running right now, but I'm going to go. Discipline is I went 3 miles, I'm going to do 4.
Oh,
Discipline is I ran the routine 30 times, I'm going to run it 35.
Yeah, break your leg.
No. I learned that discipline is also knowing when to rest, even when you don't want to rest. Discipline is saying, I said 3 miles and I want to run 4 so bad. I want to run 4 because I feel good, but my plan is to run 3 and I'm going to stop. And it took me so long to understand that that's also discipline, especially if you love something. Especially if you love something. So I would say that's second. And then third, I just feel like being aligned to yourself is really important, because you can't dance for anyone else. You have to do it for you. You have to love it. And the only way to love it is if you're doing it from here, from the inside of your body out, not from the outside in. Otherwise, like, you're just gonna listen to only people telling you that it's not good enough, or it's not right for them, and I can't feel anything from you. If I'm not expressing from the inside out, you can't feel anything. Part of the reason I would guess that you love contemporary is because it's my soul on the floor.
Yeah, it's raw emotions expressed in a physical form.
And so one of the things I'll always say is character over choreography. Because I'm sure you've seen a dancer execute moves perfectly and you feel nothing.
Yeah.
I would rather feel something.
At that point, it's just routine. Yeah. There's no passion.
I want to feel something.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason, a lot of contemporaries usually on the more mellow side.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to enjoy creative things that are not saying that I never enjoy things that are very overly like expressively happy,
Yeah.
but like for me, my like vibrations are more on like the more mellow low end.
Yeah.
So contemporary a lot of times is just raw emotion, but usually it's out of a place of like, not the greatest place in life right now, you know? Not saying it's
Yeah.
always that. I'm saying the ones I enjoy the most are like, if I'm feeling like I need to feel triumph, I know I can look at this choreography and feel triumph. Or
Yeah.
if I need to feel that there's hope at the end of despair, I can look at this and feel hope at the end of this routine, that there is hope at the end of despair. Or if I need to feel
Yeah.
just like, I'm not the only person feeling down, then I'm able to look at a routine, a contemporary routine, and be like, you know what, it's cool to know that I'm not the only one person feeling like this.
Because sometimes you just want to feel hopeless too. There's some days where I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to feel optimistic right now. I just want to feel
Yeah,
like crap.
yeah,
And that's okay too. So long as
yeah.
you don't sit in it. I would add the last one is always be a learner.
Mhm.
That's, I think, actually the most important thing is that you're always learning. And I said this actually at that workshop in Medellin with the dancers I was working with. I was like, when you're here, you want to be here. And the person who's here wants to be here. And the person who's here wants to be here.
For
The
sure.
person who's here wants to be here. You always have to be a learner, because otherwise you can't even keep training. If you're not still a learner and you think you're all that, then I walk into dance classes and bomb it.
Yeah.
I'm so cool with that. I
Mhm.
love that. You have to be open to that. Otherwise, if you're like, oh no, I'm it, then you're not gonna learn
And
anything.
It shows too with those particular creatives. Denzel Washington was speaking one time, and he was talking about how he still goes to beginner acting classes,
Wow.
and that's Denzel. You know, at the highest level of his art form, he still goes because he feels like he still learns something every time he goes, and he likes being in that environment of people who just are there without having, a movie deal or a company deal or whatever that looks like, or never being on Broadway. Like they just really just want to do this just because it's something that they want to do. And some of those people will never be on the level that he's on, but he likes
Yeah.
being in that environment, and he feels like he still learns something every time he goes. That's
That's
Denzel.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah, it blessed me. Every time you hear that boy talk, it's a cool moment. But I appreciate you. This was absolutely lovely.
I appreciate
Thank you
you.
so much for coming out. It
Thanks
means
for
a lot. You
having
didn't have
me.
to do that. EO Radio. We have Dillman and Lee Kenobi next. Um, Next is Minotti. Love you, brother. ICS Records. Smooth in the house. Appreciate you guys tuning in, for listening, for liking, for sharing, for commenting. We're still very early on this journey, and the support means a lot. So thank you. Yo, the General.